Hello and welcome. Power of you.
Hey, it's good to be here.
You too.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Why, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Hey, what are we talking about today? The power of you.
We're talking about power.
Ah, it's in the title.
It's the power. It's the power. Yeah, that's a good point. The power of the title. So we're talking about power from that and what power really is and what power is not.
But if we need power to move things
We do need power to move things and friction.
and
And we
friction, power and
and
friction.
and my wife's permission. But
I was not going to go there, but since you opened up
we don't
Pandora's
know.
box.
However, in here I'm in command.
There you
So
go. Yeah, whether
there
you
you
want to
go.
be or not.
Yeah. Right. Ready or not, here we go. So yeah, no, today it's a good one. It's power, and we're gonna close my window so I'm less angelic. I forgot to do that. There we go.
You are less angelic. And there we go. There
There we
you go. Yeah,
That's it.
that's it. Yeah, Jacob Collier. If you're watching this and you don't know who Jacob Collier is,
Mm,
fascinating musician. He's got a bunch of stuff up on YouTube that is absolutely extraordinary when you start looking at the way he actually takes music and begins to unbundle it and incorporates things that engage an audience in ways that I haven't seen happen in a symphonic environment before.
oh,
He's really good, young fella. This quote actually came from a commencement speech that he was giving, and it absolutely lands on what we're going to be talking about in this session. You are only as powerful as you make the people around you feel. I
yeah.
want you to think about that for a minute.
Yeah. That's such a good quote. Such a good quote. And so true.
Yeah, when you take fear out of the equation, I mean, we did a whole thing on Deming's work, and we ported it
Right?
over into the framework of leadership. But rule number 13, I think it is, drive fear out of the workplace.
Yes.
So this question of power, you need power in order to make things move. But the point that you also raised is if you got friction in place, a right amount of friction is necessary for a movement, but you get too much friction in place and everything
Yeah.
just kind of grinds to a screeching halt. And
Right.
there's screeching involved usually.
Yes. And the sound of bending metal and all kinds of yes.
All that good kind of stuff.
All of that stuff happens in there. But yeah, it's interesting because and so it's going to be fun to kind of unpack this today. Power. What is power? And what does it mean? And why is it a yes?
Why is it? Where is it? Who is it? And when is it?
Yeah. All of those things.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Blind spots, leaders have blind spots, followers have blind spots. Each of us have things that we are not aware of that will knock us off course pretty quickly here if we're not paying attention. And these are only four, the big four, but there's all kinds of other ones here.
Yeah.
People that are new to leadership roles oftentimes think that their position is the thing that kind of makes things happen. So they start to play with stuff and do this because I'm the boss now. And we're going to come back into here. Number 3 begins to speak to this, but the thing
Yeah.
around this, but yeah, it kind of shows up in, I know what we're doing. I get paid the big bucks to make things happen. True power has little to do with being forceful, but a lot of folks will think about bigger voice, big stick.
Yeah. Yeah.
Might makes right. Might makes movement. Yeah, it does. You can move a lot of things with big power, with big sticks and big pots of money, but that's not sustainable over time.
No, it becomes very the word that we invented, I think a few of these ago, was Sisyphusian.
Yes.
Becomes very Sisyphusian. Everybody kind of goes, that's a really neat boulder. Have fun.
Have fun. Yeah, kind of push that up the hill.
Good luck, and let's see if you live, you could do that again. And
Yeah,
I like the next one, thinking their resistance is a sign of no respect.
that's an interesting conflation. Yeah.
Oh my goodness gracious, because there are, respect and pushback are intimately connected. It's funny because you actually, yeah, boy, we could spend a lot of time just unpacking that sentence.
I can see the wheels turning.
Oh, yeah, and I'm just thinking of just 40 years of experience has just flashed through my brain on both sides of that coin, because there's that point in your career where you're thinking, I'm gonna, if I have the title, I can do anything. Gotta
Yep.
have the title, right? Which will hook us into number 3. But it is that, and if I have the title, they will respect me. The
And if
power.
they aren't buying in, that must mean they don't respect me.
Right. Exactly. And nobody's told me I'm short and overweight. So they've not disrespected me, but they're pushing back, and it's easy when you're from a leader's perspective, I think, Blaine, just to get lost in that concept around that pushback, misinterpreted as a lack of respect. Pushback actually is respect.
Yeah, it is. That's a real interesting paradox.
Yeah. Yeah. And a seasoned leader can miss an unseasoned
An
leader.
unseasoned leader.
Right.
Yeah.
A little more salt and some paprika, and they'll be good to go.
And leaders that have self-worth issues that are, this is where
Oh,
the imposter syndrome comes in.
golly. Yeah.
Yeah. And the idea about, going back up to number one, might makes right. Resistance. Hey, people would rather be right than get what they say they want. And if somebody's pushing back on me, if the system is pushing back, if the team pushes back, I feel as the leader, I feel wrong. And if I feel wrong, I'm going to push harder. So 1 and 2 just kind of do this little dance with each other.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And all of it's kind of landing on this number 3 point, which is I'm the boss. My title gives me permission to drive this ship.
Right.
And it's that whole executive prerogative, which is bullshit, by the way.
What?
Huh? Who said that? It's Tuesday. I can say this.
That's true. That's true. We're more than 48 at 24 hours into the week. So yes, we can do that.
Your
But
title
yeah.
will give you a certain amount of power. There's no question about that. Particularly in an organizational hierarchy, you look at it through the lens of, who's got the top spot here.
Yeah. Which is important. And we'll talk about that a little bit in the deck. But title will give you, and it is important to have that power. And there are moments when you play that card.
Yes.
But you play them forward, not backwards.
Oh, unbundle that one a little.
Yeah. So in that moment, in that moment where that power comes in handy, that power comes in handy when you're using it for blocking and tackling and helping to clear a path for your team. You play the power forward. You don't play powered backwards.
Yep.
That's not where power is important forward. And that goes to it's a different definition of influence, but you have the ability to influence an opening so that your team can move forward at velocity.
See, in the way that we define leadership, and we'll talk about this in just a moment here, but it's about influencing others in order to co-create coordinated movement in pursuit of a worthy ideal. Reliance on your position will not get you from A to B using that definitional structure.
No.
Yeah. In politics, politics is the activity of accumulating power. It's the aggregation and use of power. And people will confuse that oftentimes with the position that they were voted into. Okay, I am the mayor, I am the president, I am the superintendent of whatever.
Yeah.
Reliance on the position is not enough. Nothing gets created by a single person doing it. You've got to be able to find ways to collaborate, co-create, coordinated movement. All of this comes into play here. And your position alone will not make either one of those 3 things come into actualization.
Oh no. Not even vaguely.
Nope.
Not even
So,
vaguely.
which kind of drops into, well, if I'm not leveraging my power, I'm kind of standing out here naked. If I take my title away, what's left? That's a
Right.
great question. What's left?
Yeah. And nobody will know until the tide goes out. But anyway, that's a different euphemism. You don't know who's swimming naked until the tide. I forget who said that. Anyway, but
Mae West, probably.
good. I don't know. Somebody said that. But then confusing vulnerability with weakness, and we talked about this when we did the 5 lies.
Yes.
There is that from a power perspective, if I let people know I'm vulnerable or I don't have the answer, then I'm sacrificing power. I need
What will
to
they think of
appear.
me?
I
Yeah.
got to appear certain. What's the old saying? Never let them see you sweat.
Yeah. Matter of fact, we're going to drop that one in here in just a minute here.
It'll
But an
come.
old mentor of mine years ago said that people connect through vulnerability, they disconnect through certainty. Or I actually added the last piece on there. But people will connect through vulnerability because now there's an opening.
Yeah.
But it's not weakness. In order to be truly vulnerable, you have to be strong.
Yes.
You have to be strong in order to countenance the vulnerability and the questioning that comes with that. So certainty produces a lack of emotional engagement, with others and from others because they've got no place to connect.
Right.
And in terms of their experience of agency, can they actually be participating in a meaningful way in their own future? You take that away from them at that point in time. So those are blind spots, and here are the symptoms of the blind spots. Here's how they actually show up.
Yeah.
So might makes right. Feeling that if I only pushed harder, we would get there.
I'm sorry. I don't mean to chuckle, but yeah. Right.
Get a bigger hammer out here. I'm going to just drive this point home.
Yeah, that's a good idea. That's a great idea. But that's these are leaders. You'll sniff these in your organizations. Making resistance equal to no respect. We talked about that a little more. I, their leader, am being seemingly sidelined.
How dare they?
They don't need me. Therefore, I must insert myself.
Don't they know who I am?
Right. And how important I am?
I've got the title. It says so on my door.
Exactly. I keep smiling. I'll add it in later. There's a story about that.
One of the other, I seem to be the problem solver. If we go back to this one here, reliance on your position, you believe that your title is the source of your power. Guess what happens? People keep running the monkey back to your circus tent.
Oh my God. Oh yeah.
They keep bringing me problems that should be theirs to solve.
Right. And you taught them to do that.
You taught them. People give you what they perceive you're willing to settle for.
Right.
And you haven't taught them that you're willing to settle for their ability to solve problems. You've taught them that you're the problem solver. You got the title.
Yeah. And
put me in, boss. Put me in.
Yeah, and you teach anyway. Yeah, you teach them that. And then of course, we talked about this a little already. Number 4, don't let them see you sweat. There is that there's a difference. There was when I used to run consultants, I would tell my consultants, when you're having a conversation, there's a difference between confidence and confidence. Yes. Confidence is when you're going to have the conversation, have a square jaw and look them in the eye and communicate the idea or communicate the vulnerability. And do that and be prepared to do that. As a leader, there's that moment where I'm going to be square jawed and I'm going to look them in the eye and it's a damn the torpedoes. This is how we're going to go. And I'm not going to tell you I have no idea what I'm talking about. Not going to do that.
Yep.
And both of those fall into don't let them see you sweat. One is to deliver calm and ease and elegance. One is to your point, to the colloquialism, to bullshit your way through the story.
Yep. Eye of the storm, or that you get kind of these parameters that come into play here. And
Oh,
these are
yeah.
symptomatic. I mean, in your own time, you can think of leaders that you've worked with where this has been their MO. This has kind of been how they've set the team up, set their office up, their organization up.
Oh, yeah. I've been
And
guilty of that. Oh, yeah,
oh,
with
I,
things.
I have too. Yeah. Particularly if I was, when I was relatively new in the position, in a leadership position,
Yeah.
and I didn't want to disappoint my boss. So, she had given me the opportunity to lead this thing. And yeah, okay.
I'm
I
gonna
mean,
go
all
do
of
it,
that
by
stuff comes
God.
into play. Yep.
Yep.
Absolutely.
This is how it's gonna go. I am not
So
gonna let you down.
there, and this is an interesting
It's really good. Yeah.
distinction or delineation here. Um, and I'm trying to remember the professor out of the University of Colorado, and I can't remember it right now. Anyway, uh, I had attended one of his lectures a long time ago, and he talked about not all of these, but a number of these. And this is something that I brought, when I was running a leadership program for Nokia for about 12 years. We would talk about the nature of power, and Nokia was, the way it was structured. It was a matrix organization, a lot of dotted lines running. So authority and responsibility were always kind of up in the air. Who's got authority? Who's responsible? And we started exploring it from the nature of who's got the power in certain situations, particularly if title or direct reporting relationships were in question.
Yeah.
So there are essentially 6 sources of power here that we can kind of play around with. There may be more, but these are the 6 that we've identified here. And I'm going to cough here for just a moment so I mute my microphone.
There you go. You got it. There you
Yeah.
go.
Okay. So just, and we're going to go through each one of these. We'll keep this slide up here for a while. Position power. This is the one that most people are familiar with. Yeah, I've got the title, and it's authority, the authority to make decisions, to do things, to access resources, to deploy resources. That is title specific. You'll probably find it in the job description, that sort of stuff. And it does provide that. It provides authority. Position provides authority. What it limits, though, is you've got the title, but the question is who's in position. And if there's a mismatch here in terms of people's experience about the competency, about the integrity, about the character, about,
Right.
kind of fill in the blank here of the person that's occupying the position, all of a sudden position power becomes real squirrely.
Yeah.
Technical term.
It
Yeah.
is very technical term. It is a very
Yeah.
technical term, and I love that because
And it's also, it's organizationally specific. This is another piece that comes into play here. My
yeah,
wife does not care that I am the CEO, president of my organization when I come home. My grandkids certainly don't. My kids didn't.
doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. Yeah.
No, doesn't matter. My son used to, when he was asked, "What is it that your dad does?" His answer was, "He talks. He does this. I see his lips moving. I know that things are going on. He talks. That's what he does."
That's what he
It's
does.
interesting with position because that's a many times coaching individuals on my team, on my leadership teams. If I only had the title of vice president, I could.
Yeah.
If I only had
Mhm.
the title of blah, 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 I should because that person has it and I'm their peer and I don't have it. And therefore I could.
Mhm.
And so
Yeah.
there's that whole positioning thing, which gets confused with relationship.
Great example of that is at a ticket counter on an airline that has been canceled or is inordinately
Yeah.
delayed. And
Yeah.
you've got this one person that's always going to come up to the counter and they get pushback from the ticket agent. Sorry, there's nothing you can do. Nothing, I can't do anything. Do you know who I am? Yeah. that position statement, that statement about the position power that I'm supposed to have because of my title doesn't
Yes,
carry water at all.
I know. My two favorite questions: are we delayed because of the flight? If the plane was delayed, it's not here yet, or is the plane busted? And generally, if the answer was the plane is busted, my response was, well, let's fix it first.
Yes.
And then I'll get on the plane, which is like which is an organizational statement. Let's fix it, and then I'll get on it. Then
Yep.
then I know I'm not gonna anyway. We could end up in a whole blue comedy color too, and we won't get into that. But relationship, influence, earned through trust and connection. One of the things that the thing that I find really interesting about the statement is the limitation side, right? Influence may not transfer to new environments.
Yes.
Influence, which is that reminder back to the definition of leadership that we talk about, influencing others to co-create. Influence is something that as a leader, it's easy to get to acquiesce and get comfortable in. I've influenced my team. I've got nothing left to influence. But we influence consistently and constantly.
As a matter of fact, we're spending an entire month in our mastermind program just looking at this dynamic called influence. What
Right?
is it? How do I create it? How do I leverage it?
Right.
It's not, it for a lot of people, influence is just a word that they associate with oftentimes position.
Right. Which is which is an oxymoron.
Yeah. Yep. It is. So influence may not transfer to new environments, and because it is relationally organized.
And it's got to be earned.
Yep.
So it's a constant and consistent process.
This third point here, and this is the one when things go
Yeah.
off the rails, when you get pushback, when you get resistance in the system, yeah, damn it, get the hammer out. Yeah. Big stick. Yeah. Coercion, fear, manipulation, control through consequences or perceived threat. Now, as a 6-year-old being taught how to cross the street safely, sometimes I want to be able to put the fear of God in somebody.
Right.
Yeah. So it has its place. This is not a conversation about take this thing off the chart and never use it again. Coercion and fear. Coercion, maybe not so much, but fear, consequence. The thing we're looking at here is control through consequence. Control
Yes.
through consequence.
Yeah.
And the whole focus on this third one is around control.
Yes.
It's about control. And control will always create compliance, not commitment. The more control that's exerted by the leader, the more compliance that you're going to be getting, and commitment actually decreases. It will look like you're getting commitment, but you're actually getting compliance. And as soon as you stop twisting the screws, all bets are off. So one of the real downsides of coercion and fear is that you have to keep leveraging it. You have to keep, if that's your go-to,
Right.
if that's your go-to, people fear me. Well, okay. How's that working for you?
Yeah. There's an indicator you'll find. Go look at your churn numbers in your organization.
Bingo.
And that will answer coercion and fear. Just so true. To your point, love that story. I had that moderate argument with my 3.5-year-old granddaughter yesterday about, no, you have to hold my hand across the street.
Yes.
No, I won't. Oh, yes, you will. Oh, yes.
Either that or I'm going to carry you across the street.
Yeah. Watch this.
Yeah. Control consequence.
And we ended up there. Different story. All right. An expert, influence based on competence and knowledge. It's one of the things that strikes me about this, Blaine, I think, is expertise alone rarely inspires movement. There is from a power perspective, I think one of the things that happens in the mind of expertise as power is, I know what I'm doing.
Mm.
I don't need to ask you. I am an expert, and there's a lack of vulnerability and a lack of transparency, and it breaks trust, aggravates people. If you really want to know how to do something, go ask the janitor.
Spot on.
Janitor will tell you exactly how to mop that floor. Janitor will tell you things you never knew before. When we get hung up on it, it's easy to get trapped in that power thing about, hey, it's an I, me, my moment. I am the expert. Look at me, and it's my decision.
Great example of that is if you walk into your doctor's office, you will see on the wall all kinds of diplomas, the sheepskins, that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
That's designed very specifically to let you know that they are a board certified expert. They're board certified in this or board certified in that. How dare you question my expertise?
Mm-hmm.
So it takes, who's the advocate for the patient in that scenario? It oftentimes is not the doctor, because the doctor is concerned about being right, which is a real interesting dynamic. And
Yeah.
if you get close to the age that Dolan and I are, you have had conversations with doctors about courses of treatments for different maladies that kind of went against their preferred way of doing or treating.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
because
Oh,
they're
yeah.
diagnose and prescribe. Well, you've got this symptom. Here's what you take for that symptom. Well, what's the root cause? Well, let's not worry about that right now. Let's just get the symptom handled. Well, no, allopathic medicine, functional medicine. So that whole expert thing cuts off an exploration of alternatives that can be very useful.
But
Expertise alone rarely inspires movement. And by movement, we're talking about emotional engagement.
yeah.
Yeah. Emotionally engaged in pursuit of a worthy ideal.
Yeah. That's so important. But expertise, cutting that off, turning that off. And it is like that. And I think the correlate, one of my favorite doctors, the guy's been my doctor for years, decades now, Paul Brown. One of my favorite things about Paul is he calls the certificates on his wall, blah, blah, blah.
There's my blah, blah, blah. Yeah.
There's my blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
That's my blah, blah, blah. I'd rather be playing guitar than my blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. Now, there's interesting things that come into play with this too. So if you're in an organization, a technical organization, as an example, and you've been promoted into a spot, overseeing, quote unquote, overseeing a group of scientists, a group of technicians, a group of engineers,
Yeah.
and they don't perceive that you know the game. Because you're not an expert in the domain. How do you handle that? Because you're not going to go back and get a PhD in whatever it is, electrical engineering. So you've got a double E, and expert doesn't carry water here. And you have to be able to address the need for people to have an expert leading them, or at least the perceived need to have an expert leading them.
Yeah. I love that. That is that. Boy, that's yet another power view right there. It is that moment. I think that's Blaine. That's that moment of two things. The very first is the desire to learn, and then the transparency and the willingness to ask a question. Help me understand.
Help me understand. Yeah.
Help me
See,
understand.
from a leadership perspective, the expert thing can give, it's actually a minefield, because this moves you. If you stay attached to being the expert, you basically are staying attached to the identity of being a personal performer. From a leadership perspective, you can't afford to be a personal performer. You have people that are doing the work. You have people that are performing. Your role is to inspire them. Your role is to move them into places they've never thought they could go before. Your role is to transform how the process is unfolding so that it's moving into a higher plane. All of that stuff comes into play here. Your expertise has to be not so much the technical, but it has to be more organizational, relational.
I love that.
those sorts of things.
Back to the coaching, because then we'll move on. But we'll spend a good amount of time here. But one of the things that I loved was when I would do career coaching with engineers, we would have the conversation, and the conversation I would draw two lines. You can here's on a timeline chart. Here's one line is you're going to become an expert. And as you get further out, your field of expertise is going to get tighter, 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 tighter. You're going to be an expert. The second line is, let me draw a different line that's a higher line, and you're going to be an expert. And as you get further, your field of knowledge is going to flatten, but you're going to become an expert at people. And you're going to take what the foundation that you know, and you're going to apply it to leading others. Both are right.
Yeah. Yeah. Both have their place.
Both are right.
Yeah.
Which do you have a desire to become?
Which is a great question for leaders to ask themselves. So what does that future require that I become today in order to be effective in that future?
Tomorrow. Ooh, that's cool. Look how big my hand is. Anyway.
Move this into personality and charisma.
Let's go on. Keep going.
Hey, you and I are great examples of this one. Hey, influence through presence, energy, and inspiration. There is a place for this, but you don't want. Yeah, Jim Collins years ago wrote a book. He wrote From Good to Great, but he wrote another book, Fifth Dimensional Leadership, I think it was called, or something like that. And these are the quiet leaders.
Yes.
These were the ones that people would look at them and hear them speak and kind of go, I wasn't necessarily wowed. But when you lifted the cover on their organization, this thing was humming. This organization was just dynamically growing, and people loved being personality and charisma. The hero leader, that sort of stuff.
Yeah,
it has a place. Charisma is hard to cultivate. Yeah. This is one of the things where I'm not sure you can fake it till you make it.
So well said. Yes. Yeah. Yes. That is authenticity is hard to fake. Charisma is hard to cultivate.
But authenticity, and this is the Fifth Dimensional Leaders, or I think that was the title of the book.
I think, yeah.
They operate in a different way, and they brought appropriate authenticity into the workplace where people felt heard, they felt seen, they felt recognized, they felt like they could contribute. I mean, all of these things kind of came into play. Bob Chapman was a great example of this. With his organization. And the problem with personality, who was the one that founded the workspace environment?
Good.
This is where we go. Our
age creeps in. But anyway,
charisma. Yeah. Steve Jobs, very charismatic.
Yes.
Early on in his career, he led by charisma almost exclusively, in my opinion. He was very charismatic. He was, his personality, he was bigger than the room.
Mm-hmm.
Creates a dependency on the leader. Now, what's interesting is when Jobs came back into Apple after he'd been fired, he still had his personality. He still had the charisma that was associated with him, but he took great pains in developing effective bench strength, because when he left, he didn't have, when he was fired, I say when he left,
right.
When he was fired, he didn't have a bench that could actually step in. The enterprise was him. When Jobs died, Apple was no longer Steve Jobs. Apple had an identity of its own, and Tim Cook came in and actually continued the process, turned it into $1 trillion company. Mm-hmm. So the caveat here is personality can move a whole lot of things, but it also creates dependency. It creates a dependency on the leader. And if you're building an organization, and this is part of the difficulty in moving, if you're looking at scaling, if you've gotten into an 8-figure situation as an organization, that next jump is moving away from revenue coming in because of the leader's charisma. They're the face of the organization, and having the enterprise be something that is actually now seen as the engine. It's the leader as the engine or the enterprise as the engine. That's what you're looking at creating here, particularly if you move into that really weird space about 40 million in revenue, that sort of stuff. Now it's kind of like, okay, what do we do next? Because now it has to be an enterprise sort of a basis. Your charisma isn't going to carry that to the next level.
No, it's interesting. You talk about that. It's that transition from persona-driven, charisma-driven to enterprise. And that's a big leap for a lot of and we've seen many organizations fail at that process. We see them around us today with people and organizations that we watch and know and care about. And then referent. I love that power derived. I'm going to read this. Power derived by referencing a connection to someone or something that provides needed cachet or implicit endorsement. The president asked me to get you involved with this. There is and the short phrase for that is gravity.
Yep.
There is a gravity with referent power. The referent power is I am associated with, and they have asked me to get you in, to have you involved. We would love to have you participate, which is a better way to say it. But so as we get into it, it is that opportunity then, it flips. Power depends on the credibility of the connection and can disappear if that link is questioned or lost.
Yeah.
It's funny because in the business world, it could be called blood spatter.
There you go. Yep.
When someone is being taken out to the shed, it could spatter all over you.
Yep.
Just as well. So there are two sides to referent. There is that referent, and particularly if referent is abused.
Every one of us in our lives have experienced somebody that is a name dropper. And from a leadership perspective, if you've got somebody, if you've been around a leader that is continuously dropping names, I was with, and he said, she said, you should have seen that, all that kind of, pretty soon that starts to wear a little bit thin. And when they drop that name as a way to, literally entice you to come along with them, it's kind of, you question it. It's kind of like, I'm not so sure that that's a viable connection for you. And why would I count on that?
Right. Exactly. You have a tendency. There is that question that gets asked around. And not only that, but you wear out your welcome.
Yeah.
You just not to use old guy terms. You wear out your welcome.
You wear out your welcome. Yeah.
You are leveraging the power of others rather than nurturing the power that you could create yourself in a positive power used in a positive sense from an influence perspective. I'm leveraging the influence ability by burning this person's name rather than developing that relationship with you.
Yep.
And it's a great, I love the what it provides statement, Blaine, but just because it is a great, I think there can be confusion. It is a great introductory piece.
Bridge. Yep.
It's a bridge into developing it's an opportunity to develop a relationship.
Yeah. Which kind of drops into this final summation here. People rarely resist the power itself. They resist the source of power when it undermines trust.
Yeah.
So if most of us will have a default that we're comfortable with, all of these are available. And part of the question that you can ask yourself as a leader leading your team into new situations, into new territory, is which one do you rely on? And is it actually serving you? And if it's overused, it begins to undermine trust.
Yeah.
If it's overused, and trust is the foundation on which everything gets built.
Yeah. Yeah. Man, without that cornerstone,
Yeah.
you got nothing.
Got nothing. So these power of you sessions, our intent is to bring greater awareness to this topic called leadership. It's, leadership is a vast universe to be explored. There is a ton of things that you can actually organize around when you're thinking about becoming more effective as a leader. Awareness, interpretation, action. Awareness is the foundation piece here because greater awareness opens up possibilities. You now see more choices.
Right.
And when you see more choices, you now have the ability to make different choices that can lead you to a different outcome. Yeah. Again, the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over again, trying to get a different result. We
Yes.
want to have different choices that produce different outcomes. So in the work that Dolan and I do, we basically have 3 tracks, and these are 3 tracks that run through our mastermind program.
Yeah.
There's a mindset, kind of this internal thinking thing. 95% of our behavior by the time we're about 18 years of age, 30 years, what does the study say? By the time we're about 30 years of age, 95% of our behavior is generated by things that are out of our awareness.
Mm-hmm.
Belief systems, value systems, experiences we've had that go, it kind of goes into the subconscious, and it's still active.
Right.
So we call that mindset. Mindset is not the conscious thinking. Mindset is the subconscious dynamic. So becoming more aware of it leads you to looking at how are you interpreting things. The whole idea of how do other people experience themselves when they're in your presence. All of that comes into play here, and then what actions are generated. Capitalism. We run businesses. Business is the most pervasive force on the planet. There is nothing that is not touched by the activity of business. Leaders have a responsibility to ensure the integrity of their decisions. And by integrity, I'm talking about minimal unintended consequences. If I make a decision here, what happens out there? 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 influence rings or impact rings out.
Right.
I want to be able to think about that. So awareness comes into play here. And then, you've developed this whole framework around the empowerment model, 4 pillars.
Yeah. Yeah. which hangs on. Anyway, we'll get into
all of these things hang on to it.
Yeah, they all hang on to it. And it is that what I love about the model, and leaders, you can read this as faster than we can talk about it. But what I love about talking about this is those 3 components across those domains: mindset, compassionate capitalism, and then how do you empower those in those other domains? The 3 steps: awareness, interpretation, and action. We talked about this morning on our in the community. You and I were talking about manifestation and the ability to the art of the, oh gosh darn it, now it escaped me. I even wrote it down. But anyway, but as we talk about it, it is that if I'm aware, then I can interpret it. And then I get to make the decision on what the action is.
Yeah. And interpretation is the meaning-making process. What does it mean? I'm aware of it. What does it mean?
Right.
And meaning is made up.
And what is it meaning externally and in here? What does that mean? And then I get to make that decision and take an action. And is it probably going to be imperfect? Yeah, it's 50-50.
50-50, yeah.
On a good day, it's going to be 50-50.
But at least I was conscious of it. I was doing it with open eyes.
Right. Which is the reason why this slide is important from the context of power is there is a constraint in power. One of the constraints in power is to move power without these three components. You move power for power's sake.
Yep.
Without being fully aware, without interpreting what is the meaning of this? How do I interpret this? And then what action do I take that creates ease and elegance? Or at least as best as I can get to ease and elegance.
Yep. So our leadership model, very simply, leadership is the bridge. That's one way to think about it. It's a bridge between who we are as individuals and what we create together as a team or as an organization.
Mm-hmm.
Part of that bridge is the judicious use, the appropriate use, the elegant use of power. And what's the source of the power that we're actually accessing? That's what we want to pay attention to.
Yeah.
So this is kind of how this works. Most organizational leadership functions or activities take place around the vision, strategy, and action tactics piece here. What we're encouraging people to do, and this is where all of our work actually focuses, is on this bottom two tiers: the mindset that informs the behavior and the imaginal blueprint. That what we call the spirit of the soul is where aliveness lives. Mm-hmm. What do we want to manifest? And when we're talking about worthy ideal, the worthy ideal lives down in this spirit or soul area. Yeah, here's what matters. Here's what matters. Here's what wants to be expressed. That's what we want to be able to tap into. And your use of power either constrains or opens the doorway into that mattering piece starting to come into play.
Yeah.
So that's what, kind of a summary slide here. Why this matters.
Yeah.
Leadership is an activity of causing movement. Very simple. I mean, that's what leaders do. An inappropriate power source stalls the process. Pretty simple. If you're over-reliant on title, position, you're going to stall the process. If you're over-reliant on your charisma, your personality, you're going to stall the process.
Yeah.
That's kind of how this works.
Yeah. I love that next bullet, though, too, about no two situations where people are ever the same. As the leader, the art to this is knowing what lever to pull.
Mm-hmm.
What do I do? Because they're not going to be the same. And your art as the leader is to develop that skill.
Yep. There may be times when you need to pull your title out of the pocket. Yeah. Why do we need to do this? Because I told you to.
Yes. Leadership is not passive at any time.
Yeah. And it is, I mean, Ken Kersey and Kenny Blanchard developed a whole model, the situational leadership developed on this premise. No two situations are ever the same.
Right.
And how fluidly can you move between these different sources of power? That's one of the things that you want to be able to consider and actually begin to actually work with yourself on, because it's crucial to sustaining, being able to know which lever to pull here. If you're looking at sustaining coordinated movement, if you're looking at, sustaining success over time,
that's the key.
Shifting power sources, will come into play.
That's the key. Sustaining. That is the key. That is the key thing. And then we've talked about this already about all behaviors generated from meaning. Meaning, by the way, is not just you.
Yes.
There might be other things to consider.
Why is it meaningful to them? Yeah. Yeah. Why would they care? Huh?
Yeah.
When people stop following you, you are no longer effective. I mean, why does this matter? This is why it matters. When they stop following you, the game is over. You need to go back to square one.
Oh, yeah. Through and through. There you go.
Power of you. Focusing on power. That's what this episode has been about. And we've got over 80 years of experience combined, but we've also got over 80 topics that are currently in this library. So, and we're adding new ones every week.
yeah.
You can access the whole Power of You library by going to BlaineBartlett.com. You'll see that in the resource section. More effectively, though, is you can get this for free by joining our Soul of Business Experience community.
Yeah.
And part of the advantage of coming into the community is you have access to the Power Reviews. Yeah. All 80 plus of them at this point in time. You also have access to the Secrets of Sustainable Success, which is a program that I developed. Yeah, that's bundled free in there. You have access to a masterclass introduction. That's bundled free. You also get Dolan and I every Tuesday morning for Q&A. We host an unscripted Q&A every morning at 8 a.m. Pacific time.
Yeah.
So you can have access to that. We've also got free books with articles. Community members are posting stuff all the time. Both Dolan and I have a Substack newsletter. So links to those are also available here. There's a bunch of stuff here. So this is the easy way to get into it. Go ahead and take advantage of it. Yeah, you will not be sorry that you did. And that is today's Power of You. So
yeah, such a good topic. Yeah.
The question of power, the power of you. What do you mean by power?
Right. We're not talking about electricity here, kids.
By electricity, exactly. Got two squirrels out in the back that are on a treadmill.
All of that. Well, good topic today, Dr. Bartlett.
You bet. And we'll see everybody next week on the Power of You. I don't know what the topic will be, but it will be something fascinating and illuminating.
I'm confident.
I'm very confident that it will be.
Yeah.
Take care.
See ya.